Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today on Hanging Out for a Living is a man whose journey from engineering to real estate has both inspired and transformed countless lives. Born and raised in Buffalo, New York, he discovered the allure of real estate and decided to turn his passion into his profession. How many of us really want to do that? Wouldn't that just be great? So get ready to take some notes. Further, though, his faith driven mission to serve others led him to establish Homes Charlotte, an institution that stands as a testament to dedication, integrity, and personalized service. Folks, please help me welcome Greg Moran. Greg, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Let's dive into our questions for you here. So the first one, from engineering to real estate. Greg, transitioning from a field like engineering to real estate is really no small feat. Can you share with us what triggered that profound shift and how your background in engineering has influenced your approach to real estate?
Back in the 70s, I didn't know what I really wanted to do, but I knew that I needed to go to college. And I knew that going and pursuing a career in engineering, I was going to be assured of getting work and having a job. So that's what I pursued. But, it never was my passion, but I enjoyed it. I did it for basically 15 years. But as I was doing it and driving around in Buffalo, I'd be looking at a house here and there, and I always had a real passion for wanting to rehab and remodel homes, and also selfish because my dad, who was real handy, I'm not as handy as my dad. It was also a way of me connecting with him. I think about my dad, and like we're on for some kids, like on Father's Day, they would want to go golfing. Well, my dad loved to do is let's go side a house or replace windows. So I looked at it that I always had an interest in real estate. So I started to buy houses and take my dad with me, and we just rehab them and I'd flip them. And I realized that was what my real passion was. So I just decided to go out, and I said, I'm just going to go get my real estate license, and just left the engineering field and started doing real estate. And after doing it for about a year and a half in Buffalo, moving to Charlotte presented an opportunity, an interesting story, because I'm a big football fan, and the Buffalo Bills at that time, Bill Polian was the general manager of the Bills. He had gotten fired, and the Carolina Panthers were a new NFL football franchise, and they hired him. And my company had listed his house to sell, and I got to meet his wife, and she was so excited talking about moving to Charlotte. And I had another friend at the same time was talking about Charlotte. And I drove down. It was like a February day, and I drove down to go visit him. And here, after 3, 4 months of winter in Buffalo, I came down. I saw this area; it was just beautiful. All these cranes all over the place. I looked around. I said, "Now that I know I like real estate, I think I'm going to move to Charlotte." And at the same time, my parents just had recently moved to Florida. Excuse me, my youngest sister was handicapped. My dad wanted to get her away from the snow, and he had just retired as a Buffalo police officer. And so it made it easier for me. Half my family was in Florida, and the other half was in Buffalo, and Charlotte was, right dab smack in the middle. So that was, 29 years ago, and I haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. I remember actually being in Charlotte. February was at the time frame for my very first time down there, and I was blown away by the daffodils, and the tulips were already out, and the
Yeah.
hyacinths. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how beautiful is that? And
Yeah.
so I have fond memories, so I can see why you're attracted to being down there. So let's dive into faith and business. As a devout Christian, how has your faith really shaped your business principles? And how do you balance profit with purpose in an industry as competitive as real estate?
Well, there was a time back, was my faith was really challenged. I was always, would go to church and would open up the Bible and sort of kind of, I never was 100% in, but when back in 2008, and when we just had that crash, I
Oh yeah.
really started to say, wow, was this the right decision? Because, I had all my money invested in real estate. I owned a lot of investment properties, but the bottom fell out. But that's
Yeah.
when I really truly had to just totally rely on my faith and just went to God and said, gee, what am I supposed to do? I had a beautiful home at the time, and I said, am I supposed to just give this up? Should I just get out of real estate? And I just totally just fell into the lap of the Lord, and it just worked through it all. And I look back at that time, and now I have so much more of an appreciation for relationships with my clients, and the fact of what a blessing on what I get to do, because I'm helping folks make the probably the most pivotal and most financial biggest decision of their lives. And it's not just
Absolutely.
the house, it's just what happens in that home and the decisions and the things and all the different things, the joys and the tough things that happen within that home. And I've just had the privilege of letting people know of my faith, and I pray over that house before we even write the contract. We walk through that house, and I'm just speaking from my heart. If I don't feel it's right for a client, my faith has told me that I'm going to challenge them on it. I've had a few clients when I told them this wasn't the right house for them. They really got upset with me, and I didn't hear from them for a week or two. And I said, well, I still reached out, and they came back, and, years later, and, they reached back. I'm so glad that you helped us not make that one decision. And we've made this other. I had one girl that boyfriend called me back like after a month. Said, Greg, just hang in there. She'll come back. She's probably sent me probably 10 referrals for
Ooh.
people from, and she was so mad at me at the time that but I was being honest. And whether
Yeah.
it works to, I don't ever look at it from a financial standpoint. I look at it on, I get the opportunity to get to know these people. And this
Absolutely.
is what I do, real estate, and I know it a little bit better than them. And I try to guide them and share with them as why and what makes sense to them. And so I take it, really with it's more than just, trying to get folks to a closing. It's a relationship, and I just have all my best friends are all folks because when I came down here, I didn't have any other friends here. They're all people that I've had the privilege and honor to work with and help with their homes, and, you know, gone to weddings and gone to
Ah,
christenings and visit, lots of family get-togethers and cookouts with all their kids and stuff. So it's just a beautiful thing. And I just give it all to my Lord, because I just always rely on, where God leads me with everything. And even during the tough times, they never were. It just was, another obstacle to overcome. But with my relationship, life is beautiful. I just really am blessed for what I get to do.
absolutely. And one thing I learned a long time ago, and I also share with folks, is do the right thing and the money follows.
Yeah,
Do the
exactly.
right thing. Just do the
Yeah.
right thing. It's really simple, right? Um, so let's hop into Homes Charlotte's legacy. So over the years, Homes Charlotte has become synonymous with trust and excellence. What were the initial challenges you faced when setting up the agency, and how did you overcome them to really build such a recognized brand?
Um, well, I was one of those early on. I was in real estate before internet was around, so I was right on the front end of getting really good domain names. So like Home Charlotte was one that I just used for myself, because at that time I was working with Remax.
Ah,
And
okay.
then I just decided, after being there for a few years, and the actual broker in charge, I don't think did have the vision of looking forward on things. And I loved being part of Remax, but he wasn't willing to change. And then a friend of mine said, well, gosh, you got the domain name Home Charlotte. Why don't you start your own company? But I thought about, well, gee, that name recognition being a part of Remax. And the more I thought about it, once again, I gave it to the Lord and said, hey, this is what you want me to do. And once I decided I'm advertising and living Home Charlotte in Charlotte versus Remax, so it was really a no-brainer. I thought that I was going to miss out on the name recognition of being with Remax, but that was probably now 20 years ago, and I just
Right.
never looked back. So it's really helped me, and the relationship I created with some lenders. And my first office, I was working out of one of the lenders. It had his own brokerage there. And, then from that, I just had an office there and then ended up renting an office. And then I bought the building and, I've had the same building now for going on probably 14 years now. So
Wow.
yeah, home Charlotte, I just, synonymous and just run. And I try to have it a more small boutique kind of operation. I just have 6 agents that I work with, and it just keep it very personal. I don't want to be one of these big mega brokers. I just want to have a nice team that we can depend on each other and we make it very intimate and personal. And I can kind of keep a good handle on following what they're doing. And it's just been wonderful. I just love them and we have just a great relationship. So I love being part of Home Charlotte. So
Excellent. So we'll close out with the last question and some lessons and advice, if you will. Reflecting on your journey so far, what's the most important lesson you've learned in the real estate industry? And for those looking to venture into this field, what advice would you offer?
well, be careful who you listen to. So one thing about a real estate, let's face it, everybody knows at least 5 or 6 real estate agent, and everybody, whether it's your parents or your in-laws or your cousin or your good friend, they all have an opinion about real estate. Just make sure that you are working and listening and doing your research with a true professional that can guide you because even now, people look at the challenges of where things are with interest rates and uncertainty of the economy. Um, it's still, so a lot of people you can be talked out of not doing something, but just do your homework and just you're going to know when it makes sense. And if you're talking with the right person, even at a market here, like in Charlotte, it's still homes are appreciating, even in the slowed down period,
Sure.
5 to 10% a year. And interest rates are a little higher and now the market's eased a little bit. This is really a good opportunity for buyers to get into the market because when the interest rates drop, all of a sudden everybody's going to get back off the fence and get out there. It's going to push the prices up. And in
Yeah.
turn, you're going to spend more money. And like right now, you can get sellers to, maybe do some of the things that they wouldn't when we had that hot market. You can get them to do some of the repairs when we had that strong market. They didn't have to do a darn thing. And there was
Yeah.
they didn't help you with any closing costs or anything. So now I'm seeing that right now for the ones that are willing to make that, to make that dive in because yeah, you marry the home, not the interest rate. So rates aren't going to stay, even there to me, I've been in this business so long, these are not that high, but they're high when you compare them to just a couple of years ago. So if you're a buyer and your financial situation is good, just don't be afraid. Get out there because you're going to be glad. Because I use as an example a house that I sold to somebody less than a year ago. They didn't want to purchase it, and after talking with some again, it was a home they purchased for $590,000. That same home now, it's not even a year later, is worth $660,000. So
Wow.
just the equity and what you can make on making a purchase. So just be careful. Make sure you're buying the right house. Don't just because the price is the price doesn't mean that's what you should offer. Once again, make sure you're working with somebody that knows the market that's going to guide you. It's
Absolutely.
still purchasing real estate is probably the strongest investment you can make for yourself. So that's the advice I'm going to give you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
I guess the only thing I like to share is the fact that now that I'm a senior, I just launched a new. I'm a certified senior real estate specialist, and I just launched a new site. You can see up there in my. It's called the
Mhm.
Senior Real Estate uh, .com, and it's all information about you know folks that are either whether they're empty nesters or they're getting to that point where they're going to
Sure.
have to make that transition. There's just a lot of good information with as you delve into that, like what do I do? How I go about things, whether you need assisted living, whether you just need, advice on wills and estate planning and financing and just all that's involved in it. So I'm real excited to provide that information to folks as they journey into this. And a lot of families get involved in it. So it's my new passion. And so that's really the direction that I am taking my business with helping and working with the seniors. So yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's
And it sounds like what you're offering there is not just honed in on Charlotte, that the resources you offer, the wills, they transcend across the entire country, if you
oh
will.
yeah. Yes, it's basically for that for anybody. It's just because it's all the same kind of situation you're gonna run into. So it's just there. So just to get good information about that, whether you want to stay in your home and what kinds of things you can do the home to make better prepare you for as you're aging and
Sure.
things like that. So yeah, so it can be used anywhere around the country. So in Canada as well. So but yeah,
What a
so it's
great,
not just a local site for that.
that's wonderful. That's great. So, Greg, your story is one of passion, dedication, and relentless desire to serve. Your commitment to making a genuine difference is really commendable. And to our audience, if you're inspired by Greg's journey and want to delve deeper, then keep this conversation going by connecting with Greg, whose contact information is in the description of this video. So, gang, until next time, keep hanging out for a living, keep inspiring, empowering, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Thank you so much for this time. All right.
Welcome. Bye bye.